Good morning. It's time for Tina Book Tuesday, episode 27 or 28, I think it is, with author Lisa Prysock. I am recording to you from my kitchen here in Kentucky, and I wanted to share with you that I have just opened the box with my first paperback copies of The Prairie Princess. And I love how small it is. It's a novella. I like how it feels so light in your hands, easy to read. I encourage you to order a paperback version if you'd like to have this novel in your collection. I generally do the proofing process electronically, so this is the first time I've held the book in my hands, and there are some things I absolutely love about it. Starting with the margins, and I also love the butterfly series emblem, and I love the chapter headings. Those are a few of the things I really like. So I thought today, and I hope you have something to drink that you enjoy, I thought I would read an excerpt for you from chapter 1. "Thank you, Papa," Lady Mia Arabella squealed, dancing with a wide smile of sheer joy around the library. It was a spacious room where she spent many hours of solace curled up in the window seat, reading books she carefully plucked from the floor-to-ceiling shelves, sipping her favorite bergamot or orange spice tea. Today, however, she would spend her afternoon packing her trunks. She stopped twirling about, bent down, and plopped a quick kiss on his cheek. "You won't regret it. I shall be so happy. You can't possibly imagine how happy. Off with you now, Mia Arabella." Lord Charles Morley chuckled, waving his daughter away. "Leave me to my book and tea. This is completely against my better judgment. But I know if I don't let you spread your wings before you settle down into a match with the Earl of Canby, I shall never hear the end of it. Now hurry away, lest I change my mind." She neared the door to the hall, running the length of the center of the country house, and tossed him a look over one shoulder. "You know very well I haven't made up my mind if I shall marry the Earl, but not even the mention of the prospect of marriage can ruin this happy of happiest days." "Nonsense, my dear girl. Lord Edmund Rochester is a perfectly suitable match, and you've turned down half a dozen others. We've run out of titled Englishmen in Devonshire and Somerset." "Perhaps in all of England," she laughed lightly, escaping the library before he could respond, thinking that remaining unmarried offered her far more advantage, the first her independence. She had no intention of marrying the Earl, but since Papa had agreed to let her sail across the Atlantic to explore the wonderful wilds of the American frontier, she wouldn't risk upsetting him too much. She hurried up the staircase, nearly floating in a cloud of happiness, her dark brown curls bouncing and her brown eyes sparkling as she bounded toward the second floor, hoping she'd find her companion, Miss Flora, to help her with packing. She'd need clothing for every season, and especially summer, for it would be the very best time to see the Western Territory, like the pioneers and the explorers she'd read and dreamt about. Besides, she'd have to convince Miss Flora of her plan, for Papa had said she must take a companion to look after her. She'd need to send a letter off at once to her dear friend in Virginia, formerly Miss Ada Baldwin, now Mrs. Ada Smith, married to the Reverend Marcus Smith. However, she knew Ada would be delighted to have her as a guest. Lady Mia Arabella danced pirouettes on the way down the hall, spinning around effortlessly in her low-heeled ankle boots, only to collide with her older brother. This resulted in a fit of giggles as she teetered into his arms. "Careful there, Viscount Alfred Morley," the younger master and heir of Bridgehaven Hall, steadied her and chuckled. Unable to pronounce Mia as a toddler, he'd always called her M. "I say, you're in a jovial state. Pray tell, why are you so exuberant this morning?" "Because, Alfie, I'm going to America. I'm finally going to explore the western frontier. Isn't it exciting?" She spun out of his arms and pirouetted again, this time stopping the twirl by placing both of her feet solidly apart as she held her arms out in the air for perfect balance in the most elegant fashion she could manage. "As long as you stick to exploring and not dancing, I think you'll be fine." He crossed his arms over his chest, a glum look spreading slowly across his face, his smile fading. My dancing profession has never truly launched, so brave explorer and pioneer 'tis. Ignoring his sad expression, she fished the miniature spyglass from the folds of her hidden skirt pocket and extended it at once. Ahoy, chap! She focused it on his face and peered into the looking glass with one eye, staring at a much closer view of the successor to her father's title and estate. Seeing he didn't respond with the grin she'd hoped for, she closed the spyglass at once, tucking it back in her pocket. Why the downcast appeal? I believe it is ahoy, mates, he corrected, disregarding her question at first. Then he sighed. Do hurry back to us, Em. I am without a hostess for entertaining, which means I shall be forced to muddle through a great many tea parties with Lady Alice, expecting the privilege of assuming your role. He sighed and then rolled his eyes. They both knew this would only give Alice higher hopes of an impending proposal. While it was indeed his duty to eventually marry, and though he cared for Lady Alice Brantley a great deal, Mia knew he wasn't ready to be tied down yet in spite of the inevitable. 'Tis not such a bad thing. I like Lady Alice. You could do a lot worse, Alfie. She'll make you a fine wife someday. In truth, she didn't like the prospect of Lady Alice becoming the future mistress of Bridgehaven Hall anytime soon. But what choice did she have in the matter? It was bound to happen eventually, and at least in America, she'd be away from the Earl of Canby's weekly visits. I suppose you're right. Times are changing, but I'm enjoying my life as a young eligible bachelor. He smiled mischievously. Yes, well, don't enjoy it too much. She lowered her voice in case the servants were within earshot. There's little need for me to languish around the halls of Bridgehaven once you're married. I'd merely be a nuisance to the next Lady Morley, and bumping about the walls of this great country house. I'm going to travel, see the world, and explore the West I've always dreamed of visiting. Soon you'll be married and have your own estate to manage, Em. In any case, you'd never be a nuisance to us when I marry. Bridgehaven Hall is your home as much as it is mine. Nay, Alfred, I don't plan to marry any time soon. You're a good brother, but always remember I'll be holding you to that promise. I don't intend to marry anyone. I am going to travel the world and be most happily independent. Your first act as Earl should be to increase my allowance for the many travel expenditures in my future. She tossed him a radiant smile, glad her remarks drew a chuckle from him and replaced his sour look of disapproval. I don't believe you one little bit, he called after her as she glided down the hall toward her room, the train of her bustled gown sweeping the tiled floor as she proceeded, practicing holding her arms out in perfect balance. I hope you get your copy soon, and I hope you've enjoyed this excerpt from The Prairie Princess. Have a great day, and give me a shout out if you saw this video.